Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We are here at AXPONA 2025, and it is on like Donkey Kong, as they say. With me on the show to help with the wrap-up, Graig, Neville, Marc, Phillips, two of my favorite fellow PTA writers. How are we this fine evening in Chicago?
Good. No, things are good. I mean, weather in Chicago is never this nice.
Today is a nice day. I'm glad because I got up early and I was like, my jacket smells like cigar smoke, and I didn't want to wear it to the event I was going to, so I said, well, I'm just gonna man up and walk out there, and it was like, wow, this is beautiful.
It is funny how it's like either freezing cold or pretty good. I would say this is darn good. I take sunshine any day, but it was sunshine yesterday, but it was 30 degrees. Not enough. No. 30 and sunny is still cold.
Yeah, I was chatting with Justin Weber on Thursday, and he was lamenting on how awful the weather was and why was he here and not in sunny California.
Today's episode of the Occasional Podcast is brought to you by The Voice That Is. Doug White runs an award-winning boutique that has assembled a refined selection of the finest brands in the world. TVTI is best known as the premium dealer for Tidal Audio, which creates speakers and electronics with transparent sonic performance, exquisite build quality, and musicality. Doug has the answer if you want to upgrade your electronics, fine-tune your analog, or purchase your final pair of speakers. TVTI is an authorized dealer for many carefully selected brands. With decades of experience, he carries acoustical systems, Doman Audio, HRS, Ecotech, Itziro Urishi, Lyra, SAT, Siltech, Tidal Audio, Turnbull Audio, Vinny Rossi, and more. With personalized service and a professional approach, TVTI looks forward to building a relationship with you, the serious music lover. Please check out their specials page and contact them today. See TVTI's solutions at www.thevoicethatis.com. Our friends at ZMF Headphones are sponsors of today's episode. ZMF is a curated collection of various sounds and styles in the form of dynamic and planar magnetic wood headphones, designed by founder Zach Merbach since 2011. ZMF has garnered an A+ recommended component in Stereophile, Headphone of the Year on Headphonics.com, and been a 2-time winner of the SBAF Golden Schlong Award. ZMF Headphones. That's the letter ZMF. Headphones.com. ZMF Headphones is the place to go to check out ZMF's collection and learn more. ZMF, traditional craft and modern acoustics.
So it's been a great show so far. I want to get into all the fun stuff, but we're going to tend to keep things a little bit more abbreviated on the show. I think that we can kind of get through a nice clip with a little bit less time than we have. So we'll give it to you in an abbreviated sense, but we still want to give you a really good snapshot of all the rooms here, what's been going on, and what's the highlights. Overall, Marc, any takeaways from how this show's been compared to previous years?
Well, yesterday really ran smoothly. It was a great show. I got a lot done. Everything was smooth. Today, it was the crush of the people. Mm-hmm. We watched the crowds. The parking lot filled up. Yeah. At one point, as I had to go off-site, and I came back, and we had to park about a half a mile from the venue. Yeah. So it's huge, which is, it's a good thing because the high-end audio industry is alive, and doing well. But AXPONA has always had that problem for the last 3 or 4 years where we always wonder, is it getting too big for itself, basically, because, the elevators, getting food in a timely manner, and so you're not, grabbing a cold hot dog that gives you food poisoning. And yeah, today is really hard to get around, but it's also exciting in that way. So it's like, I don't want to say it's a bad thing. It's bad for us, for our vocation and getting from room to room quickly and finding out everything, but it speaks well for the industry.
Yeah, I was sitting by the SVS room, and they have them on the end of the hallway, and I did a little video, but the traffic that was going in was insane. They're just like a swirl of people, always, and I was like, hey, how's the volume? And they're like, it's been really good. So, I think Friday was pretty hot, and also Saturday was just, very intense. But if you go through the hallways, it's not always so bad. It's just got like a little bit of bottlenecks here and there. How was your experience walking around, Graig?
So I think that, like Marc, on Friday was kind of my go for it day, and hit a lot of rooms that I wanted to hit. There's a few that I still haven't gotten a chance to get into, or were busy enough that I couldn't get in to listen to when I wanted to.
I had a couple of those.
Yeah, the Vinny Rossi Rockport room was definitely one that I wanted to spend some time in. It was just every time I walked by, I was busy.
And it's a good room.
Good room. I kind of just from hearing it from the hallway, it sounded like it was very promising. So, and then today was I didn't have the problems because I'm trying to use more of the stairs and the elevators, which I think was a good call.
I think that's the secret.
So
that's why people start at the top and then work their way down.
Unfortunately, I ended up starting at the bottom today, so so a little bit of cardio today. From the hallways, you could still kind of get around and whatnot as long as you avoid the elevators, and but the rooms did seem to be pretty busy. A lot of people cycling in and out.
Highlights for you from Friday, Marc.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with, I'm going to call the best sound of the show so far. I went up to GTT Audio, and they had, the Vivid audio speakers. And so they distribute, and it's called Master Fidelity. I don't think it's very well known yet in terms of digital, but it's called the NADAC, and they have the NADAC B and the NADAC C, and it's, streamers with DACs and everything. And this stuff, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to the sound of the system, and right behind the speakers is a poster for Master Fidelity, and there's a pull quote from some reviewer or whatever. It says, "It sounds just as sweet. It's sweet like analog. It's like listening to master tape." And it was really strange because I was actually thinking that at the same time. I said, the quality of the sound, this is the least digital I've heard. It's very analog. It's rich. It has all that beautiful presence, and it's amazing stuff. And so hopefully, GTT is, they're really happy about this stuff and they're really pushing it. But it was a good example of just the most analog sounding digital that I've ever heard. It's amazing. That was up to that point my favorite sound at the show. Although one of the things I will say though is I went to 20 or so rooms on Friday, and I think 19 of them were superb. And so I, usually, especially on Friday when everybody's still working out the bugs, and you hear rooms, and then all of a sudden by Saturday, everything's kind of sounding good. No, this was one room after another. I concentrated on downstairs, which tends to be the bigger rooms with the bigger systems and more expensive and everything. But I was just one after another, like, that's great, that was great, that was great. And I think it's because everybody really puts their best foot forward at AXPONA. Mm-hmm. It's the big time. It's the big show. And so they take everything very seriously, and everybody had it together yesterday. It was amazing. Amazing sound.
Graig, your highlight from Friday?
Actually, there was a couple of sleeper rooms. And, I was in the GTT room with the talked to Bill a little bit with the big guys and whatnot, and that room was excellent. And so I definitely concur that was a really excellently put together room. And they had some new gear in there besides just the musical fidelity stuff as well that was kind of interesting. And they had a couple of other Vivid rooms that were also quite good that were dealer run, but some Kaya 90s I think that were in one of the rooms. Yeah, that was a good room. Was it T+A I think amplification on that?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was, which was really a good room as well. The Gouder and Soul Note room I thought was a pleasant surprise. I'm not as familiar with Gouder. And Solution, right?
I heard that. It was one of my favorites.
It was a very good one, and I'd heard some good things about Solution, but I had never really heard them in an extended listening session. So that was a very nice plus.
I appreciate the deep cuts, guys. That's awesome. Did any of you guys get a chance to hear the new MoFi V10? So the MoFi has a new Andrew Jones speaker. And he just built it up to be like another, from the 8, they had the 888, and the new one is the 10-inch in a floor standard, and it is actually getting quite huge. The speaker, it started small, and then they kept making it bigger and bigger, and now the V10 floor standard, when you're next to it and you see it compared to the 8, you're like, what, it's starting to look like a big boy. So they had that on display at the MoFi room, and I thought that was kind of a fun treat. It sounded good. They had a nice wide breadth. So that would be my Saturday listen. Did you have a sleeper hit, Mark, from the trip so far?
Yes, I do, and it's somebody who I already enjoy, and I've reviewed 3 of his speakers, but it's Sonor Audio. But the magic this time around was he was trying an Audion single-ended trial, no feedback, 211 tubes, and he was amazed at it. He just got it. The first time he had used it was at this show, and he just couldn't stop talking about this amp. And I'm going to agree with his speakers and this amp. He had some great sound, and you walk into this room, and it looks like a modest little room with small stuff. And his stuff is, his speakers should be twice as much. They're such a great bargain. But this sound coming from this room, I had just come back from outside. It was really, up the elevators and all the crowds, and I walked into his room first thing, and I just instantly decompressed. It was just beautiful. Nice. Yeah, it was just beautiful sound.
There's Rich Pinto from Treehouse Audio had a pretty significant hand in, I think, some of the design of that amplifier, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't the Sonoran, or was that the...
No, it was Songer. You're mixing up Songer. That was also one of my absolute favorite sounds at the show. So Songer and... Songer's been using Whammerdyne Audio for a while, and they are 2A3 amps. Well, this is a 300B amp, and 6 watts per channel, and 29,000, I think, and it's 40,000 for the speaker, 45 for the speakers. That is also in the running for best sound of the show.
So lesson learned, guys, if you want to have a good sounding amplifier, just incorporate the word Songer. Those letters are magic.
Well, the first time I saw Songer, I thought somebody had misspelled Sonor, and I said, oh, somebody messed up. I feel sorry for Gunny. And then I walk in the room and I go, no, this isn't Gunny. This is a Mel's. And it's like, and I love Sonor and I love Songer. They're both excellent speakers.
Treehouse did have some new phono amplifiers that they were playing that were quite excellent.
The Treehouse room was really, really good.
Any other favorites for you, Greg?
A surprising sleeper for me was the Dart Zeal Stenheim room. Sounded actually quite good.
I need to get that.
I don't know what's the backstory on Dart Zeal right now. I think there's some corporate things that might be going on, but the room was a very, very pleasant surprise. It sounded much better than I was expecting, so thumbs up for that one.
I heard Dart Zeal and Munich last year, and it was the same thing where there was some kind of a change in the product, and everybody said the same thing, that it was really amazing. So it's one of those, there's a lot of companies out there right now that they're reinventing themselves, sometimes with new ownership, such as YG Acoustics, and they're reborn and doing great things.
Mm-hmm. There were a lot of YG rooms here, and I haven't had a chance to get to all of them, but the one down in the atrium by the lobby check-in, that one was quite good.
Did anybody get a chance to listen to that little, the new D'Agostino that's sitting there by the stairs? They have the cheaper one. I'm so excited for that thing. It's a D'Agostino.
Have you seen the remote? The remote looks like the dial. It's like identical of the fancy dial. I saw it. I said, that's great. But it's going to be 15 or 16,000, and they had one in the Inuos room. And, usually Inuos picks they really build great systems. They were driving Wilson Sabrina X's.
Today's episode is sponsored by Nordost. Ready to take your system to the next level? Transform the way you listen with Nordost's world-class hi-fi cables and audio enhancers. Nordost's superior design philosophy and exacting craftsmanship bring out every musical detail, connecting you with the tunes you love. Hear the difference as your equipment comes to life, turning every listening session into an unforgettable audio journey. Nordost, the clear choice for the best connection. That's www.nordost.com. Today's episode is sponsored by Shit Audio. Shit Audio designs and builds audio components in Texas. Based in San Antonio and Corpus Christi, their wide line of amps, DACs, and audio accessories fit any budget, starting at $49. For a full rundown of all their products, visit shit.com. That's SCHIIT.com.
I got a chance to go to the headphone area, and there was a couple of noteworthy things. First of all, Audaz's, the LCD S20, is a $499 closeback. That's their new thing. I'm a big fan of their flagship stuff, and this, hopefully has some trickle down, but closed back. I don't know if you guys caught this, but Manly Labs has a new Precision Phono Pre, which is a bit more than the one that you reviewed, Mark. You did it, but the 4K one, the Oasis. The new one has all the bells and whistles, and she said it's not firm yet, but we're going to be at least over 15K. So it's a full deluxe line and precision phono pre called the Precision. So she got that out. We got a little video up on the YouTube channel you can see. And then there was this very unique thing from Orchard Audio called the Valencia, which is a power amplifier for a headphone. You basically pump a pre-headphone amplifier into a power amp and get very clean sound. And that was by Orchard Audio, and it was tied in with Z Review's Aris headphone, which he does for $250. And he said the headphone is intentionally bassy because he really likes bass. So don't expect a reference frequency response with that one, but that was kind of my takeaways. And then, of course, I had a great time hanging out with the ZMF guys. They have a new drop coming up soon, and they had all their headphones on display with the wood and the record weight that we did the collab with. So that was really cool to see them and Zach from ZMF. And we also did a little factory tour with them earlier this week while I was in town. So we'll have that up on the YouTube shortly as well.
Is it as funny as the one that you did first?
I hope so. I don't know. It's a lot of pressure to be humorous. Zach is the funny one. I just hold the camera. But yeah, he's a hoot. He's a fun time. Mark, yes. What would you kind of align as your best sound so far?
Well, the GTT room, as I mentioned, was really stood out. But like I said, almost every room I went to on the first day of the show was outstanding. And, I always wind up talking about Audio Group Denmark. They debuted 3 new products. First, they came out with the M2. So they had the M1, the $100,000 mini monitor, and that kind of launched me on the journey that I took with these guys. Mm-hmm. And then they went from there, from the M1 to the big M3 to the even bigger M6. And, we're talking $500,000 and stuff. But they came back with the M2, and the M2 is a smaller floor standing speaker, still $190,000. But it has that M sound, which is just, where is the bass coming from? This is amazing. How are they doing it? And that was great. And then they have, I want to say subs that they were showing, but they don't like to call them subs. I think they call them bass extension modules or something, because it isn't technically a sub. But so I got to listen to the M2 with and without those, and it definitely filled in and went even deeper. And then finally they have a new phono stage. And the interesting thing about the phono stage is that it has an input that's dedicated to the DS Audio optical cartridges, which is, a lot of people are kind of jumping on board with that. But when I went and visited them in Denmark a couple of years ago, they were asking me, do you like DS Audio? Do you like DS Audio? Because we're developing something, and now it's out. Heard it sounded fantastic. So those guys, they always excel at every single show. But this time was the first room I went to because it was Thursday morning before the show opened, and I got to go in there for a press release. And as usual, it's just amazing sound. It just seems like they always sound big and open and clear. No matter where you are up and down that line, it's got the same sound pretty much, and it's truly impressive.
And we both got a chance to go to Doug White's thing off-site this time.
We have to decide about, is that because it's off-site, so does it qualify as the best sound at AXPONA? Because if Tidal shows up anywhere, it's probably going to be the best sound at the show. And so we got to hear 3 rooms from 3 dealers, Tidal dealers, very different, amazing sound each time.
Greg, did you have any other things that you kind of your highlights for the trip so far?
From what I've heard, and there are some rooms that I haven't hit yet, like a lot of the Interfidelity rooms, like we talked about, I haven't hit that. They've got an event tonight, so I was going to hit those rooms. And usually I'll try to hit the big ballrooms on the east side on either Saturday or Sundays. So I haven't heard all of those rooms yet. I did poke my head in the Convergent Audio Technology room that was playing the Acora surround system. That was pretty good. So I didn't spend a lot of time in the room, but I walked in and was like, oh yeah, this is pretty good.
No, I walked in and said, what's going on here? They're just putting speakers out in the middle of the floor.
Yeah, they had VRCs, as part of like a surround sound system, which was crazy. And then they had
VRC ones as the mains. It was the
SRB?
The SRB2s, the big ones. Yeah. That was the center channel. and then SRB1 was the center channel, and SRB2s were the rear surrounds.
Yeah, it was a crazy.
And then there was a couple of subs in the room because he's been making subs lately too. And so I sat down, and I'm not a big multi-channel guy, but I sat down and I totally enjoyed that. It was just a full surround sound kind of thing. It was very nice.
I got a chance to swing by the Focal room, was also doing a multi-channel thing. And when I say multi-channel, I was like, this is a lot of channels, guys, because it was like front, center, left, right, 4 surrounds, 2 in the back, and 1 in the middle, just like everywhere. And
then you look up at the ceiling and, there's more up in the ceiling.
It was a full Atmos system.
Yeah.
It was powerful. I mean, the bass, just the thumping in your chest, maximum bass.
Now they have
performance.
Actually brought the small bookshelf. Was that the La Scala from their Utopia series?
Yes.
That room actually sounded pretty good too.
That's
a very nice speaker.
Yeah.
Oh, and back on the personal audio front, I did forget, they have a new like Bathy's MG wireless headphone. I think it's 15 or 14 up there, but it is definitely like a new flagship wireless headphone. And so that's pretty cool to see, just something a little more expensive on the wireless side. If you're into that, I know it's
getting better and better.
It's getting better and better, yeah. So that's a real fun treat, I feel like.
Yeah.
So that one more personal. I don't want to forget it because they do have the ear gear experience here, which is like a separate headphone section, and I did get a chance to hang out there a little bit. So yeah.
Well, and they do have the car audio section as well.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to poke my head in there, but I was going to do that tomorrow.
Yeah,
Sunday.
And the marketplace, so you can buy some vinyl if you like. There's a big MoFi presence there as well, a retail presence. And then car audio was new this year. So they got a whole huge thing and a contest, and someone wins and all this for car audio. So if you're into car audio, you could swing by next year too if you're listening to this after the show and get a little taste of that. It's nice to see that overlap, I think. It's like...
I enjoy seeing. I especially enjoy when they pair it with exotic cars. Mm-hmm. They used to do that at the old Newport show. And that was kind of the fun thing to go out and see the latest, matte black Lamborghini. That's just what I think of because it was such an amazing looking car in matte black. Yeah.
No gators this time, though. They had a car show at Florida when there's gators.
You might get attacked by geese, but that's about it.
Oh, the geese are heavy.
And they're vicious, man. You cannot over the geese.
They are.
Geese can be scary.
And they poop. They land in a group, and they poop, and they ruin everything.
They ruin everything. You just think you're pointing at the geese. You ruined everything. Yeah. Any standout reference tracks? Anything? I heard a lot of Tool this time, but not so much Chocolate Chip Trip.
So the joke is that I tried to switch it up and retire Chocolate Chip Trip, and I found a new track that I really like. And I have to kind of credit Cobuzz on this, as it was a album of the week, and I was just streaming, and I said, let's see what this is. And I know the band, it's a British industrial post-punk band called Snapped Ankles.
Oh, God, yes. I hate that name, but I've seen a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, so I went up to Duncan of YG, and he said, you want to hear Chocolate Chip Trip on the big XV3s? And I said, I have a new one. I said, it's by a band called Snapped Ankles. And he goes, oh, my God, I love them. And I said, okay. So it's industrial, and the reason I really love this band is because it's all techno and it's all whatever. And at the center of it is a real drummer who's really good. Mm. And so you hear this and you hear all the other stuff going on and then electronica and everything. And then there's a drummer at the center of it, and he's a badass. And so there's a song called Personal Responsibility. It's a very political song, but I started playing it in a couple of rooms, and it will clear the room. I mean, Chocolate Chip Trip, 3 people would leave, but then 10 people would come in. With the Snapped Ankles, people leave and they don't come back. And so I may not continue with that, but I still dig the song.
Cool.
Yeah.
Greg, do you have a reference track that you go to when someone asks you, what can I play?
Well, I have kind of a playlist that I've assembled over the years that I kind of call my speaker test torture tracks. Right. At shows, at least for this year, it seemed, for whatever reason, that I've been on this kind of female vocal kick. So I've been hearing Melody Gardot and Brianna Giddens seem to be kind of popular with that kind of stuff. And then a couple of jazz tracks that Herbie Hancock stuff that I've been kind of going to. So a little different than Marc's take, but that's okay.
Well, the one thing I would use, but it's a little early, is I did just get the Lynn Stanley new album and reviewed it. Really kind of cute because she told me, it's like, oh, that's why I had a bunch of orders in yesterday. Still shipping out. It's tribute to 1924, and it is a sonic spectacular as usual because she's got Bernie Grundman in there at the best band around. She has all the help in the world in putting out these audiophile albums, and because she always insists on high quality for her fans, who are mostly audiophiles. But I haven't heard it there. I don't know if anybody has it yet, but they will probably. We'll probably start hearing that.
Best of show? Any other, or do you have your?
I think it's going to be between GTT and Audio Group Denmark is really high marks. Just a few others. I thought that as usual, the Joseph Doshi Audio, Jay Sikora. You can't ignore them because they're so good at what they do that knock it out of the park, and it almost seems like they get better and better. And I think a lot of that might have to do with the Jay Sikora and the ATIS cartridges, which there was a new ATIS cartridge that was, it's kind of akin to the Mammoth Gold, which is made from a mammoth tusk. Wow. And so it was a one-off that they made especially for Jeff Fox of Notable Audio, who is the distributor for them. And it's purple. And I said, what is this one? And he said, it's just a one-of-a-kind that I had them make for me. And he goes, I have the only one, but he goes, but I'm going to tell him to put it into production. It was really good. And it was only like 6,500. The Mammoth is 9,000. And so it uses a lot of the inner stuff from the Mammoth Gold, like I said. So at 6,500, it's pretty good. It's a solid cartridge at that price.
I also wanted to point out before we roll out of here that they had like a small system in the hallway with VAC and a Cora with the little guys. I mean, they're little, but they were stand mounts in a very nice marble finish that were like, I don't know, 13 or 14, maybe they're above 10K for that particular finish. But connected to the little VACs that are like mono KT88s.
Yeah, the Essence line.
And those are also, like, let's just say around 10,000. I think they were maybe 9. But that's just a fun little setup they had just sitting out in the hallway. And Kevin Hayes walked me through it a little bit, and I thought that was really fun. He's a cool guy. So you have a vote for Best of Show?
Well, I think that the Vivid GTT room with the audio net and the music fidelity, right? Musical fidelity?
Master Fidelity.
Master Fidelity.
MF, yeah, Master Fidelity.
I thought that room was probably my best in show, but a couple of other honorable mentions that I really enjoyed. The T+A room, where they had their own speakers and their own gear. That room actually sounded very good, and I was chatting with them a little bit. That was a very pleasant room that had, precision German engineering that's been around for a long time that we just don't know about too well in America because they've only been here for about 4 years now, I think they were saying. So that was good. And then there was another one that was on the tip of my tongue, and then I forgot it because that's kind of how I roll sometimes.
Yeah. And always remember, too, that we still have some time left. So
there's rooms we
so if there's something out there that just wipes everything clean, it might happen.
Yeah, we'll find it on the site. We'll have constantly update the website with photos and written word all week long, following the show all the weeks long. So definitely keep checking that for more stuff.
Lots of it, both quality and quantity, because it's AXPONA. AXPONA is it's amazing. Everybody is proud that they've all been able to accomplish a success at this level for high-end audio.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Lots of families, lots of kids. We're seeing everything.
Yeah, I did see a younger crowd here this year than last year, I think.
Yeah, it's becoming like a thing, like a real event.
Not just like little kids, but a lot of the like 20-somethings
Right.
age group, which I thought was refreshing to see a lot of younger people that are getting into the hobby.
People who wear wide leg pants.
Right.
Men and women, it's a thing.
They wear selvage jeans.
No, I'm talking about like really wide leg.
They're not even bell bottoms. They're like bell legs.
Bell legs. Yeah, so I agree. I've seen more young people.
I'm seeing more and more young people who know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Which is really amazing. It's good. They're saying wise things coming out of their mouth about audio and music, and that means everybody's always worried that the younger generation is not going to take it over. Yes, they are. They're going to do it differently than we do it, but they're going to do it. It's called progress.
Anything else? Any parting comments, Graig?
Yeah, I do, actually. I know that, politics is not something that we really want to talk about, But I did have some manufacturers that are very concerned about the tariff situation.
Yeah.
And
That seems to be impacting.
and that I think has yet to play out. I think we still need a few more months to figure out where all this goes. But unfortunately, there were a few manufacturers I talked to that were a little stressed about it, and we're sympathetic to their concerns because we all love and enjoy this hobby, and we want them to be successful. So I hope that things work out for the folks that are really worried about that stuff.
My final comment will be the quote of the show, and it came from Jorn Janzek of Tidal, and he said that he makes singing furniture.
I like that.
Yeah, I said that. I go, I'm writing that down because it's like, yeah, I make singing furniture. I want my furniture to sing, and it was like that kind of encapsulate because he had the big new speakers, the AP1s, and they were finished in a smoked macassar, and they look black until you shine a light on them, and then the wood grain comes out. And it was like if I were going to get a pair of Tidal speakers, I'd say I want that, or any other speakers, like I want that. It was smoked macassar, really, really did it for me. Yeah.
Any words of wisdom from Graig? What's your favorite saying? Do you have a favorite saying?
Well, the funny thing was that usually I will encourage manufacturers when I come in and I talk to them after I leave. I say, hey, I hope you have a good show. And one of the guys from whose signature that was from Germany that I was talking to, he's like, Germans don't say have a good show. That's not something that's said. So he was just kind of a little mind blown that people would come up and tell him to have a good show.
Well, what is it? The Germans, they don't say have fun, they say make fun, because it doesn't make sense in German to tell somebody to have fun. Where are you going to put it somewhere? It's you have to make fun.
Make fun. Well, guys, thank you so much for helping me make some fun, and I appreciate your input on the show. Yeah, it's good. It's good to see you guys.
That's good.
That's good.
The Occasional Podcast is a production of the Part-Time Audiophile Network, which includes PartTimeAudiophile.com, The Occasional Magazine, the PTA Newsletter, and Audiohead.com. You can stay in touch with us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. The Occasional Podcast is produced and hosted by Brian Hunter, executive produced by Scott Hall at PTA Productions. The Occasional Podcast and its original associated music is monitored, mixed, and mastered on the Focal Trio 6 BE studio monitors. AI songs produced by Udio.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe to The Occasional Podcast on iTunes, Google, Spotify, or wherever your favorite podcasts are downloaded.